Good afternoon. My name is Charli Penn. It is my distinguished pleasure to host this SAG-AFTRA Foundation conversation. We have two very special guests, the stars of When They See Us, Niecy Nash and Jharrel Jerome. Amazing. So Niecy was just nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a limited series or movie. Her phenomenal, right? Phenomenal. I stand for her. Her phenomenal career has spanned from Comedy Central's Reno 911 to HBO's Getting On, one of my favorites, to the Academy Award-nominated movie Selma. She is nominated now for an Emmy for her role as Dolores Wise in Netflix When They See Us. You can also currently see Niecy in the TNT hit series Claws. Please give it up for Niecy Nash. Hi, Niecy. Welcome. Welcome. Join me. Next up, of course, we will introduce Jharrel Jerome. He made his acting debut in the Academy Award-winning film Moonlight. Debut. He just received his first Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Movie for playing Korey Wise, Dolores' son, in Ava DuVernay's Netflix When They See Us. Please give it up for Jharrel.
That's my baby!
Thank you both. That was a powerful reception for a very powerful miniseries.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this first question is for both of you. With a film this special, well, it's a limited series, this special, the cast was everything, and the performances had to be everything. Tell me about when you were first approached about the project and your decision to sign on.
Well, I really wasn't. Is this working well?
Yep, we got you.
I wasn't approached. I stalked Ava.
You did.
So I slid into her DMs.
Really? So you heard about it?
Well, yes. You know, I use my social media for working, not twerking. And I needed this. I was so passionate about the story. Mm-hmm. And I said, I have to be a part of it in some way. I had no idea I would end up being Dolores Wise, but you know, she was hard, but definitely a gift to me as an actor.
Amazing. And Jharrel, what about you?
Yeah. Does this work?
We got you.
Right.
Yeah, so we can
Cool.
hear you.
Similar. I slid into the DMs, but it was way different. It was more so, I saw her about a year before I even auditioned for it. I saw her post a screenshot of the article from 1989 about the boys, and I just got super excited because her caption said that she was going to turn it into a project, and I had no idea what it was going to be or who was going to be involved, but I slid into her DM, you know, me with my little following count, and she had like 1 million followers, so I slid in and said, this is going to be incredible, with a heart, and she never responded. But she did respond after my very first day on set with her. So she ended up like following me back and being like, whoa, you messaged me? And I was like, yes, I messaged you, thanks. And a year later when the audition came around, my team sent Korey Wise, but it was funny because I only auditioned for the young part. That was the goal, to play young Korey. And I had this beard on my face. And when I have a beard, people think I'm 30. And when I don't have a beard, people think I'm like 13. So it was just this mix where I went in for the young role, and Ava ended up calling me months later into New York to see her without the beard instead. And I guess the idea clicked when I had done both, and she was like, how old are you? I said, I'm 20. She goes, so you're not 14? And I said, no. And she goes, and you're not 29. And I was like, nah, just 20. And so, yeah, just that's how it happened for me.
Well, she probably would have, if she would have noticed it, I know she would have hit you sooner. The only reason why I had to go to her DM on Insta was because she does not have a voicemail. See, I got her phone number. We was friends, and I still had to go the other route.
So you knew how to make it happen.
Right.
I love seeing the dynamic that you two share in real life, and the mother-son relationship on screen was just, I mean, the strength in that performance. How did you all prepare when you met to play those roles and to work together as a mother-son duo?
when we met, it was instant. It was, I don't even know.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was a preparation process.
This chemistry was all
Yeah, we didn't have to
instant.
sit and be like, okay, how are you gonna be my mother? Or you know, she was my mom as soon as I saw her. You know.
Yeah, for sure. On and off camera.
I can see
Did
that.
you eat?
Yeah.
You got a jacket? It's cold outside.
I'm like all day, all day. I'm like Niecy.
Literally,
I'm good.
when they walked in, that was the
I'm good,
dynamic.
yeah. I walked in late today. She's like, "You good? You know, how's you all right?
You okay? You came
What
on
you
the
need?
train? What you got? What's going on?
Now,
So no, we didn't. There wasn't a lot of preparation for us. It was really chemistry.
Now, Korey and Dolores Wise in real life have gone through an incredible trauma. And these are real people. They weren't characters you were taking on. These were people's lives and their trauma. How did that affect the way you prepared as actors for these roles? And what made it different for you in the preparation and the execution?
I mean, it's that responsibility that goes with it. I mean, see, as an actor, the fun part in it is that you can create these imaginary characters, these fake worlds where people can be like, oh, I relate to that, you know, in terms of my world. But this is a true story. You know, this is a real human being, and more so someone who's right in front of me every day. He spent a lot of time with us on set. The first time I met him was when I was reading the script for the first time in person in front of the cast. He was sitting right next to me because Ava brought the men to the table read. So those nerves and that I don't want to say pressure, because to me pressure sounds like a negative word, but that responsibility and that motivation you have to do more than just what an actor does. You know, this is not just having fun going on set, getting the paycheck, getting whatever. This is a job you have for someone so important. And Korey truly became an inspiration to me. So the second I met him, I knew that I had to do everything in my power to give justice to his name and to his story, because it's been 30 years coming, you know. So I understood that it was going to be me out of this entire planet to be the one to bring a story. So that responsibility is so important.
And Niecy?
I think the same. You know, when you're playing real life people, especially people who have gone through such a tragedy, you owe it to them to get it right. You can't phone it in. You can't just show up to work, you know, chewing gum and eating policies. You have to have already done the work and have your mind right. And then you have to also connect to either the real life people who experience this or their families, because sometimes they, you know, would be guests on set. So you just know that you don't take your job lightly.
Absolutely. And what do you all want people to take from this what do you want them to feel when they watch you play Dolores and when they watch you play? You know, what do you want them to feel from your performance?
Really, the goal is for you to understand this story through the lens of the Exonerated Five. That's the goal. It's not about my personal performance. Like, oh, did y'all see me up there? You know, it really is about their
stories.
This narrative. You know, knock it off. It's it is about truth in storytelling. And finally, you know, for this whole time, every story you've ever heard about the men who were formerly known as the Central Park Five, it was through someone else's narrative. And so this is the first time their story is being told from their vantage point. So that's really the goal. It's just to make sure that you really see them for the truth of who they are.
And what in particular about her story do you want people to feel and understand? About whose story? Dolores.
Well, the one thing that I will say about this mother is that she loved her children and she did the best she could where she was at each station in life. When you first meet her, she is selling drugs in the projects, and you know, then she comes into a relationship with the Lord, and that changes her in another way. And you get to experience her at different places on the journey. And even in the scenes where I was screaming at my daughter, my son who wanted to transition to be my daughter, what I tried to bring to even that part of it was that she was fearful because if her child went out into the world in a way that she could not protect her. And so it came across as anger because she's been fighting her whole life, and she didn't know how to tap into a more tender side. But it was her fear that made her act out, So I wanted to be as honest as I could. And just know that at any given point as a parent, you doing the best you can with your trauma, with your past, with your pain, with whatever resources, with whatever finances you have. You're doing the best you can. And some days you white knuckling it.
Absolutely. And we felt that in the performance. And Jharrel, what about you?
In terms of just what I want people to take away from
Korey's story.
So much, really. But I guess I'd start with saying I'm from the Bronx, and to me, what's up? What's up, Bronx?
The Bronx is here.
So, I'm from the Bronx, and to me, when I first saw an image of Korey, I saw the image of him when he was 16, and he was sitting on this chair in the precinct, and he looked very small and he looked very young. And to me, he looked like I was looking in the mirror almost. It also looked like some of my boys. I can name about 4 of my homies who looked like Korey, who looked like Raymond, who looked like Yusef and Kevin and Antron. And so to me, that hit me so hard because this is an everyday thing, To me, I call it the Central Park Million sometimes because it wasn't just these 5 men. These 5 men are now the pioneers for the struggle that a lot of other men and women go through in the country. So I hope that pain and that emotion and that sorrow that you felt for Korey while watching, you understand that there's so many more. There's so much more going on, and that's happening today. Stories like Trayvon Martin and Eric Gardner, and stories that you just keep hearing on the news. Movies need to start being made about their stories and their lives, because maybe if we watch a movie about it, we'll feel it more than the news, and we'll feel it more than what the media is portraying. And so I think the beauty of this project is that art imitates life, and this pain that Korey went through, I just wanted to show the world that he went through the pain, but that he's so much stronger than that pain. He's the strongest man I know, by far.
Absolutely.
By far. So
absolutely.
I just wanted to show the world how strong he is.
And you played Korey at 2 different ages.
Yes, I did.
Did your approach in terms of how you had to relate to where his mindset was at that time change at all in terms of your craft when you were trying to pull that off as an actor?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult to have to play both parts.
Absolutely.
Even more responsibility than already what's given. So for me, it was funny because I had a easier time, not easy, but I had an easier time tapping into Korey's old self because
how so?
You don't know his young self. No one does, and you can't really look it up online. The only thing you see of young Korey online is him behind a desk answering questions, and he's lying about them. You don't see him hanging around the streets. You don't see him with his girlfriend. You don't see him getting pizza or messing around at the house. So it was finding his youth and his innocence, because you see him now, you see the way he talks, and you can see the years of imprisonment and false imprisonment on him. So it's almost easier to feel that and feel that weight on you. But it's like, where was his youth? How was he when he was young? Was he smooth? Was he charming? And so the way I was able to tap into that was spending time with him today, which is crazy, because that 16-year-old boy is in him. Yeah. He's there. And I'll quote him because he said that boy died in me while I was in prison. And that breaks my heart every time because I tell him, no, it didn't, Korey. You right here. I mean, he's still all about 90s hip hop. He'll match his hat with his jacket, with his sneakers. He'll do all of the things. He'll have champion. So it's like, he's like, that to me that's that 90s feel, that's that 90s vibe, and he's still all about it. So spending time with him today just helped me out with that. But yeah, trying to go, luckily we shot the young part first and then the older part, so I had a time to transition and feel the change, but yeah.
That's so special. And speaking of transition, Niecy, your career, phenomenal is the appropriate word. You've had such a range of roles. See that chemistry? From comedic to the drama, you in Getting On, in Claws, how do you as an actress transition so seamlessly between all these responsibilities and so many different types of roles?
Well,
what's your process?
Here's what I will tell you. You have to already see in your mind who and what you are. What happened was I saw something that the industry did not see. Mm-hmm. The industry saw a comedian because that's how they met me. And they were like, oh, no, dear, you have a lane. They were polite. Mm-hmm. But they said, you have a lane. You do broad comedy. And I was like, I really could do something else. And they were like, yeah, no. So I had called a team meeting with, my agent and my manager, and they were like, why are we here? What's going on? And I was like, I wanted to reintroduce myself to you because I know you think you know me, but I changed.
Yeah.
Things is different. So, and I said, I see myself doing these kinds of roles. And if you don't see me like I see me, then we can't do business. Mm-hmm. Because yes. I have to ride with people who get it. You know what I mean? Who provide provision for the vision. So I give you the vision, and then you give me the provision for the vision. And that to me looked like going in for the kinds of roles. I'm not asking you to give me a job. I'm asking you to give me the opportunity. I'll get the job myself. And so once we got clear, I was able to go out and audition for things that people would not see me for before. But that's your job as my agent, to force them to see me in another way. And then let me at least get in the door. And they did their job, and then I went in and did my job. And so now there's a beautiful duality in my career where people know for a fact now, oh, this is the same lady from Reno 911 who did that?
Absolutely.
And it's like, yes. So I love just being able to be a hybrid. But now that I did that, everybody's like, can you do it again? So I need a comedy because I need a break.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Isn't she amazing? Jharrel, what would you like to do next in terms of what type of roles would you like to take on in the future, immediate future? Mm-hmm. Oh, you got bigger plans. I see. You're like, okay, right, let's say next 2 years, and then.
I'm like going to Philly tonight to shoot tomorrow, so I got something cooking up now, which is cool. But
stop bringing it up. You know I feel away because I'm not in it.
She was supposed to be.
I was supposed to be in it.
She was supposed to be in this project I'm about to do right now, and then she last minute dropped out.
Oh, I had another.
Explain yourself.
Somebody getting the whipping when we get home. Yeah, but go ahead. Tell the people.
My dream is to continue to do projects like these. Projects like When They See Us, projects like Moonlight, projects that give stories to people who are like, where's my story at? I have one career, especially as a young black man, a young Spanish man from the Bronx. It's not often we have those opportunities. So I have this one chance, and if I'm gonna do it, I want to do it in a way that is longevity, not today. Not like, okay, here's the success now, let's go spend all my money, let's go do all of this crazy stuff. To me, it's about the work and the project, and that's all just coming from my mom raising me the way she did, So my goal is to do that. Of course, down the line, I'd love to have fun and maybe do some crazy. I mean, my dream always was to play Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So if I got, webs coming out my fingers, I'm with it, So, but just roles like these and projects like these that mean something to not just me, to people,
I love that. It's powerful.
Thanks.
Now, Niecy, we talked about how you do what you do in Hollywood, but what do you want your legacy to be in Hollywood as an actress?
Ooh.
You like that one?
That's a good one.
I would like my legacy to be one of inspiring, and that has nothing to do with actually what I do for a living. Your do is one thing, but my who is to be of service in the world. And so whether that's on a set, whether that's face to face, whether that's at a talk back, whether that's, I just want to inspire people to bet on themselves. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you don't. I mean, if I would be standing up here with a bag of money if I had $1 for every time somebody tried to tell me why I couldn't do something or what was wrong with me while I was trying to do it. You know what I mean? I said, I think I'm one of the last people in Hollywood with my original teeth. It was, and it was like, well, is she gonna get her gap closed? Can she do something with her teeth? I'm like, no, she can't. She is me. I am sis, and no, I can't. So I'm like, no. And then another time they were like, oh, well, I mean, she's cute enough, but can she lose weight? And I was like, I can hear you. I'm right here. So there will be so many things that get you discouraged in this life, but I hope that when people look back at me, a legacy would be one of believing in yourself, because that's why it's not called mama esteem, daddy esteem, them esteem. It's called self-esteem. And if something in my life inspires people to hold on to that a little bit tighter, my mama always say, pull up, push through, and never look like what you're going through.
Come on.
So if I could leave a little bit of that behind.
Tell me you would not come to like a public speaking event that Niecy does.
An entire TED
Why
Talk.
are you not a public speaker?
I need the TED Talk series.
I don't know. One thing at a time.
All right, so we have some questions from the audience. I'm going to do my best to summarize them and give them to both of you. Okay. This one's from Cynthia. I'm going to summarize it, Cynthia, but thank you. There she is. Essentially, Hollywood's a long game. What's your favorite story about or your best advice for hanging in there and having longevity in your career?
The three words that I have lived by in my life, Miss Cynthia, are no matter what. When a lot of my contemporaries, girls that you know, were working, I had 3 babies. I started early. I got married and had children at a very young age. And my no matter what looked like packing up my kids, 3 of them, to take them to a callback. And I would put them in the corner and fix it up like a little preschool at the casting office. Where's the graham crackers? Get the babies, bye-bye. Zip it. You better zip it. Because I felt like I didn't have a choice. Failure was not an option. So when I think about my career, and now that everybody's moved out of the house and I can gallivant off and work in one state and do what I want to do, I'm like, those rough years were worth it. Mm-hmm. It was worth it for me to just, stick with it. It's not easy, but worth it.
Mm. She just speaks in gems. You speak in gems. I'm sorry. This one's for Jharrel. It's anonymous. I heard you were very method with this role. What prompted this choice, and how did this affect you, given the subject matter, and how hard Korey's experience truly was?
Yeah, I was pretty method in terms of, I think the most method thing I did was something like I would stay inside the prison cells during lunch or during when they were moving cameras without my phone or anything. I would just sit in there and see what it was like to just pass time with nothing around but yourself and your own mind. And I remember one lunch break, which was only about an hour, maybe an hour 15. I felt like I was in there for about 6 hours. And my PA came back and said, we're ready for you. And I asked how long I was in there. She said, about an hour. Oh. And it just blew me away because I can't imagine 14 years, So I also thought if Korey can do 14 years and make it through and be here with a smile, then I can go through a couple minutes in a jail cell, So a lot of the work I did was for him and tapping into him and letting him know that if I'm gonna do this for him, I'm going to try my best to put my mind in there with you. So.
Absolutely. This one is for you, Niecy, also anonymous. Could you talk about your work with the Innocence Project?
Well, as soon as we wrapped, let me back up and say, I don't have any family members who are currently incarcerated. I don't know the process, the steps, whether guilty or innocent behind bars. But I knew when I got finished with this project that I was forever changed. And I felt like I have to lend my time, my talent, my platform, something. I was just looking around like, okay, they were like, and that's a serious rap for Niecy Nash. Well, wait a minute. Well, what do I do now? What do I do with all of this? And I needed to find a place to serve. Mm-hmm. And the Innocence Project was that for me. And I've done panels with the men who we lovingly call the Exonerated Five there, and tried to get stories out about other people who've been wrongfully convicted. So I started there. That's probably not going to be my final destination, but I just needed somewhere to tithe my time to help this cause.
An outlet, yeah, for that.
For sure. This is the only project I've ever been a part of where we were provided with crisis counselors on set if you needed it, because the work was so heavy. And when you got through with it, I feel like I'm still not finished with it. I mean, we'll talk about it sometimes, and you'll see tears welling up in other cast members' eyes because it's still so fresh. You know, so, but yeah, that's how I found my way to the Innocence Project, because I was like, I gotta do something.
It's interesting that you say that, because the next question on here is, how did having counselors on set help the cast in telling the story and getting through it?
Yeah, well, I mean, you just don't know what day you're gonna need something.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And God bless Ava and Netflix for providing that for us, because, you know, some days it was a necessary evil.
And what advice did the counselors give you all for not taking that anger and that frustration home to bed?
You know, the hard thing about that is that, you know, we are, but we're just human in it all. It's hard to tell somebody what not to do, right? But you can hear them out. You can share in that experience. You can give them some tools for, you know, moving through it and kind of coping. But you can't help but be a part of something like this and not feel. Now, you watched it from the outside. We had to watch it from the inside out because we had to create it. Yeah. So you had to feel all of that in your body, you know what I mean, for 14, 16 hours a day. You know, reaching across the thing, crying and falling out. And then it's like, oh, and that's a good night to Niecy and Jharrel. Yeah. And you like, good night, everybody.
Like I told you when we got here, watching it, I couldn't even do it at once. Like, I couldn't do it in one setting. That physical trauma.
How you think we felt, girl?
I can't imagine.
You know I ain't lying.
Oh, wait, this one, also for you, DC. What did you draw from to display the emotion of a mother whose son was wrongly accused? This is from Craig.
Hey, Craig. Hey, Craig. I have a son. So it was very easy as a mother to imagine him being in this place. You know, because that's our only job, is to protect. Mm-hmm. And the minute you can't do that, you feel like a failure, you know?
Absolutely.
And it was very difficult for me to look at him across that partition or in the jail and my eyes not well up. I mean, because I could not help him. And thinking about that as a mom with my own children, it was heartbreaking. So it was just right there. It was right, you know, because you gotta have a talk, especially with your boys. Mm-hmm. The cops stop you. Here's the thing: you do this, put the hands in the 10 and 2. Yeah. You know, all of the things to just get home alive. Absolutely. We'll worry about the rest later. So after you've already had that conversation, and then you enter this piece of work, and then you look at a baby, and I look into my baby's face when I look at him, and so it's right there. It's right beneath the surface. Mm-hmm.
I want to wrap, I feel like, by saying thank you for your service almost, because I feel like putting characters, real life stories like this to the screen and making them that real for people is a service, because we need to know these stories. So thank you both. The performances were incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And if you all don't mind, please holding your seats until Niecy and Jharrel leave. Thank you all so much.